studio with me today is the very wonderful, very lovely Elaine Rhule. Now, Elaine is the owner of the multi award winning luxury cake supplier Designer Cakes of London, which has featured in seven national and international based magazines, including a feature in Vogue. Now, her brand boasts many, many high end celebrity clients, including Usain Bolt, Floyd Mayweather, Kylie Kardashian, Karl Lagerfeld, Joby Joyce, and so much more. She also has corporate clients, which include the US Marine, Star Wars UK, Amazon, BBC, Alexandra McQueen, Tower of London, House of Commons, Chanel UK, Netflix, and ITV. Now, in addition, Designer Cakes of London is also the marked cake supplier for London Dorchester Hotel, the Shard, and for London Ritz. Wow, that is quite a resume. But guess what? Before she started her bespoke cake making business, Elaine enjoyed a career in data and statistics as the Associate Director for Cantor UK before she retired in 2001. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty curious about how you can go from data and statistics to cake making. So please help me welcome to the stage, Elaine Rhule. Hello, Elaine.
Hello, Mildred. What an intro. I feel like you're talking about somebody else.
Oh my God. Yes, I am talking about someone. That's you, a fantastic, awesome woman who has many talents, and we're going to talk about all of it. I am so glad to have you on the show today, and I'm really, really looking forward to this conversation.
I know, honestly, I'm mega excited. Really, really excited about this. I've been looking forward to it all day.
Oh, I love that. And especially because I know that Elaine, you don't love being visible so much. You
No.
know, you don't love being you don't love being in front of the scene. Now, Elaine and I go way back. We first connected many, many decades. Oh my God, even saying decades is kind of scary how quickly time has gone. But you we connected in church and you were like Elaine's like was like a big sister to me, you know, really, really awesome woman. And at the time though, Elaine, you were in a completely different field. You were a statistician, and now you've got this successful cake making business. So talk to us, take me back there where we left off. Let's pretend we're catching up like old friends. What happened with the business, the statistics, you know, it's one of those words, right? Statistician business, statistics, right? You were
Yeah.
in that area, in that career field, and then you transitioned. But tell me about what your career was like at that point.
To be honest, Mia, just bear with me. I'm really having a bad technical day today. You can see me now, right? And
I
hear
can
me.
see you. Yeah, we can see you and hear you. Yes.
Yes. And so see if the camera knows that I don't like to be in front of it. Well, that's an easy one. To be honest with you, growing up, literally nobody knew what to do with me. Yes. So I was with Cancer for 10 years and I loved it. I was so comfortable in that job. It was unbelievable because it was a job wherein I think I was promoted about 4 times in a 6 year period. People don't even know there's such a thing as a statistician. But because most people didn't even like stats at school, let alone become a statistician. To be honest, at school, nobody knew what to do with me because I was academically strong, but I was good at a variety of things. Like I was good at maths, but I was also good at things like home economics. I remember we had to cook, I don't remember what it was. And I had the top marks. So the teachers literally had no idea what to do with me. What I wanted to be was a British Airways air hostess because I like the outfits. And my dad made it clear to me that wasn't going to happen. So I didn't choose maths. They did because they didn't know what to do with me. And my dad thought it will be, considering the fact that the view was for me to migrate into Britain, my dad thought that it would be quite a distinctive profession for Black female. And you know what? I wish he was alive for me to say to him, he was right. Because for me, being a Black female in my role was a plus. It wasn't a minus. I was really celebrated because it was a unique position. Most mathematicians or statisticians are mature white men. So being a Black female tossing around with high heels, you really stand out.
and I know you were walking around with high heels because I know that's your wardrobe.
You
know,
better work.
oh my God. Okay, so you didn't grow up here. You were born in Sierra Leone, is that
Yeah.
right? And then you came over to the UK at what age?
At age 19.
Okay, and that was to study?
Yes, that was to go into university.
Okay, so you've come here to study, to go and study maths
Mhm.
on the advice of your parents, and you somehow fall in love with it, and then you end up getting a career as a in the world of statistics and really thriving there. Tell us about the pathway. What was the journey like from there once you got into it?
Oh, once I got into it, I was obsessed. It's funny, exactly how I am with cakes is how I was then, because I'm in so many offices. They would literally give me the keys because I was like the first person in, and it made
Mhm.
sense for me to have the keys rather than the cleaners because I'll usually get in before the cleaners. I was
Wow.
known for getting to work at 6:45. That was like standard, even though
Mhm.
we normally the office hours were 9 o'clock. So I was very, very, very committed. I mean, I literally became the youngest. They used to say to me, "You are the youngest director in this company." And being black female, that was quite an achievement. I was very, very committed, like
Mhm.
obsessive level of commitment. And
Mhm.
so I grew really, really quickly by, I think, age 35, even before age 35 in those days. For it, sometimes it's easier to grow in smaller companies. In the company I worked for, like Canada, you don't grow that quickly because it's a massive corporation, and every day
Mhm.
it's so competitive. It's unbelievable. I remember once they were passing around this. They weren't passing around. Canada became really engulfed in race equality, and they wanted to speak to the black people within the company to understand our specific personal experience of being black within the company. And I remember when the forms went out, everybody looked at me and think, "You cannot even think about writing anything bad in that form," because everybody that I started with, I was more senior than. I was basically, most of them, I was their boss, even though we all
Mhm.
started at the same time. I've grown more than them. I've won awards. So they were like, I am very keen to see what you have to say about racism. As you can imagine, I didn't have much to say. So, in answer to your question, I grew really quickly within that
Mhm.
sector. To me, that made it harder because, for the most part, people are inspired to start their business or do their own thing because they're not happy in their roles. So I
Mhm.
feel like for me, that even made me stay longer in my job than I would have. I'm surprised that I looked at anything else because I was very
Mhm.
happy. I was traveling a lot. It's a well-paid job. You know how demand and supply, how they go hand in hand. Because
Yeah.
statisticians are so rare, if you are one, they will pay you well. So
Mhm.
I had every reason to stay, which is why I look at myself all the time. I think I can't believe I'm doing what I'm doing.
Mm. But what was driving you? So you said you were getting there at 6:45 and all kinds of things. What was that about? Was it that you wanted to prove yourself or what? What was behind all of that kind of thing you were doing?
Honestly, I think I like the idea of making a lot of money.
Mm.
I think that was a big driver. I like the idea of not being in a position to say I can't afford this and I can't afford that. I'm not going to lie to you.
Mhm.
That was a huge driver because I can smell what I can achieve if I was
Mhm.
successful. I can see
Mhm.
it clear as crystal. But
Mhm.
also, I came from a home of very, very ambitious parents. I mean, my mom, I think if I live till I'm 100, I'll never be able to achieve what my mom achieved. My mom was just unbelievable in terms of her achievements, and she's
Mhm.
my role model. So I think I came from very ambitious, successful parents. So that
Mhm.
was more than likely embedded in me as a child. But it's also very interesting because that is the reason why I'm so surprised that I'm in business. Come on, I came from a culture wherein business people were not successful. Business
Mhm.
people who are successful were not locals. So if a local said to you when I was a little girl that I'm in business, it meant the person was like a hustler. That person was
Mhm.
coming around people like my parents, hoping that they would buy whatever they're selling or on the cheap. I didn't have a positive perspective of business growing up.
So your parents, so they weren't business people, they were in the career space. You said they achieved a lot. What did your mom and dad do? What kind of legacy did they leave for you to carry on with?
Oh, well, my dad was the governor of the bank for the country. which was a very senior prestige position, as you can imagine. My
Mm.
mom was head of customs and excise, but she broke so much. She was the first female ever in the whole country to head a division like that. Because you must remember, that's a very sexist, let's say,
Mm.
culture. So she broke a lot of records. She was because Sierra Leone under up until 1969 was under British colony. So the school system was under British colony. And my mom was the first person that inside they have a thing called double promotion, which means I
Mhm.
don't know if you have it in Nigeria, you skip a class and you go to the next class. So she
Mhm.
moved from like class 3 to class 5, but she was the first person ever that got the Sierra Leonean government to write a letter to the UK Commission to start doing what today is double promotion. So she was the first double promotion person in the whole of the country. So they came from a strong academic background and they were very successful as individuals and just like a power couple collectively. So I
Mhm.
think coming from that background kind of influences you without you even
Mm.
realizing the influence or
Were
the
you an
degree of the
only child?
influence.
Are you an only
Sorry?
child? Were you
No, I
an
was the
only
only girl. So I had
only?
two brothers. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So there's that strong influence from your parents, and you mentioned also like that you wanted to make money, you know.
Yeah, I
So
did at the time.
do you know I love that because like you are actually one of the very first people that taught me the whole value of money, you know, way back when. I'll never forget. We went out for lunch or something one day, many years ago, and you said something to me that I've never forgotten since then. And you might not remember you said this, but you were like, "This is how you should measure how much you should earn." You said that you should always earn more than your age, you
Yeah.
know, so your salary should always be more than your age. I must have been like 20 something at the time and earning peanuts, you know. And I was like, right, I gotta fix up because I am not represented here. You know, I wasn't all of that thing of passion, you know, the money is important, but passion. But you can, as you've demonstrated, have both the passion and the money. So
Yeah.
like where did that I would say a healthy appreciation of money come from? Because so many people, especially women, have a really bad relationship with money, and it's almost like it's something that you shouldn't talk about, something you shouldn't desire, definitely no, and it's not godly if you're a Christian, you know. So where did all that come from for you? Was that your parents' influence as well?
No, actually, because my parents, it's funny, my parents were successful, but not as much. I'll tell you where it came from. When I first came into Britain during those years of studying, even after studying, it was really painful to me to watch friends who I thought were clever. They had so much going for them. And all the things that I knew I can afford to do, they cannot do. It really left a negative impact on me. The most popular, this is when, I mean, I'm talking exiting university, those first few years, I love traveling. I wanted to me going to France or Italy. That's not a holiday to me. To me, unless I'm in a flight for like 12 hours, it's just a visit. Like holiday is a proper holiday. And it was really shocking to me how many of my girlfriends, who in my opinion were smarter than me, in my opinion, they had everything that should make them complete and successful. Most of the things we wanted to do, they just couldn't afford to do. I hated that word. I cannot afford to. I started to have a really bad relationship with that word. I hated it. And to the
Mm.
point where I realized at one point that even though I got to a point when I was earning enough, I didn't even do a lot. And I
Mhm.
think that's where it's coming from. Those early years, watching my friends living this, in my opinion, very limiting life because they couldn't afford to do so much. And I thought, what's the point of all the studying and working, and you can't? What's the point of that? So I
Mm.
think that's where that was coming from. That certainly didn't go back to my parents. I think it's that experience of that early 20s going into 30s, just hearing that phrase more than I care to.
Mm. And yeah, and you were also like, as you said, you went to the office in high heels and stuff. Again, one of my most memorable impressions of you, you were always well dressed, and you still are, you know,
Today, the mess.
always
Anita
immaculate.
just came in and logged on. Anita logged on.
Always. And I have a confession, and you're so generous as well. I remember you gave me a Chanel bag a long,
I
long time
don't
ago.
remember.
I know you gave me one of your Chanel bags, and me not knowing anything about the value, I was like, "Oh, it's a nice bag, but I'm not. It's not really my style." I didn't even know it was Chanel real. I didn't know anything about what Chanel was worth. I went and sold it on eBay for ten
No,
pounds.
no.
I did. I sold it for £10. And like years later, I know, years later, I realized I was like, oh my gosh, Mildred, what did you do?
I can't believe it's so funny. You didn't grasp what? Oh no. I really
No,
should have said.
I know,
I
I
probably
did
should
not.
have said.
Yeah.
Oh, bless you.
But I really honestly love the confidence that you radiate around money and who you are and knowing your value in a sense of I can command this pay and not letting that limit what you do in life. So when you were making this transition from a career into business, that must have come up in your head. But before I ask you that, was it a deliberate transition? Did you always have in the back of your mind, I'm gonna start making cakes at some point as a business?
Honestly, I wish making cake as a business could not have. Every time I look at myself thinking, how should I get here? No, the answer is a very solid no. Not in my wildest. I had a negative relationship with business. I didn't like business. For me, business is for hustlers. I used to look at business and think, why do people want to go into this? Why not get your stable job? You've got your income coming in. I used to look at people wanting business like almost like they're a little bit crazy, like they're like exhibiting loser behavior. I could never understand. Believe me when I tell you, this is not my business grew before my mental positioning. I was catching up, playing catch up with my business. I
Mm,
had no choice. It's as if the business opened the doors for me to walk in. Otherwise,
mm.
that would never happen. So that's a very solid no. I promise you, I know the answer to that one. No.
Wow, wow. Okay, so what was the process? How did it happen then? What? Tell me.
What happened? Okay, so there I was. It's very happy with myself. I mean, I cannot say I'm confident. I swear I don't even know if I'm that confident anymore. I was so confident in those days. I had my job going. I was a newlywed. As far as I'm concerned, life was lovely. It was dandy. I'm just riding along. And then one day it was New Year's Eve, and
Mhm,
it was at church. We were at Docklands at the time. Were we at Docklands? No, we were at that church we were at that, is that Monday Road, that funny side place.
mhm,
And on New Year's Eve, somebody decided that we should make snacks for New Year's Eve and pass out so that people are not rushing off after service. I
mhm.
wasn't even there at this point. Plinty went to the front of the queue and put my name down that I will make cupcakes.
Clinton,
Even
your
though he has,
husband. Yeah.
yes, Plinty, my husband. Even though he has never once seen me make cupcakes, what possessed him can only be God to say
Mhm.
he's going to go put my name down. And I tell you what he did. As we were in the car, as casual as anything, he just said to me, "Oh, by the way, I told him to be making cupcakes on New Year's Eve." I'll tell you something. It was a very long ride home. I was so upset with him. Words cannot explain. Because as far as I'm concerned, I think this was like the Sunday before Christmas, kind of like
Mhm,
Christmas Eve kind of Sunday. And as far as I'm concerned, New Year's Eve is a day when I'm not a late person, I'm an early person.
mm,
Late is not my thing. I wake up like 4 o'clock in the morning, even if I'm on holidays. I'm an early riser. So
mm,
my thinking is for me to survive New Year's Eve service, I need to sleep during the day because I'm not a late person. I'm aware
mm,
that I usually struggle New Year's Eve. So I started telling him, I said to him, "You're going to ruin my New Year's Eve now because now I can't sleep," which is what I would much rather do.
mm,
Complain, complain, whine and whine. Little did I know that God was opening the door to something which I never thought would happen. So the
mm,
reality is, I ended up making these cupcakes, and Mildred, did I enjoy making these cupcakes? Honestly, it was like so therapeutic, so
mm,
different from that figure and intenseness and speed. I decorated those cupcakes like they were for the queen. I mean,
mm,
every effort. And when I went to church, people were shocked. First of all, they couldn't even believe I made it, and I felt so good. the people got to see this other side to me. They loved the taste of it. They loved the way it looked. People were literally fighting. I mean, after some people came to me and complained that Clinton and Chesterfield, you know, Chesterfield in our church, they were the servers of these cupcakes.
Yes.
How Clinton and Chesterfield didn't give them any, even though they told Clinton to save. I mean, people were really getting pushes about these cupcakes, including men, which got my attention because I don't associate men so much with fighting over cupcakes. So that's in answer to your question, that's what it is. And I was very strongly instructed to come back with a batch the following Sunday because Clinton didn't do the serving and distribution well. So next thing you know, the next Sunday I was making cupcakes, and it's hard to believe it, but nobody else but you and Tamisha. I mean, it would honestly, when you got that call from me, it was so sweet because I thought, I don't normally do these things, as you know, but for Mildred, I had to say yes. Because you are a part of my business, I don't think you will realize it. You and Tamisha said to me, you need to post what you're doing on Facebook and on it. Because in those days, I wasn't on Facebook. I'm thinking, I don't even like the camera. Why would I be on Facebook? So, and you and Tamisha advised me to put it on Facebook. And then there you go. I got my first client, which was you. You had a birthday cake. You had a birthday cake, a birthday coming, and you were like, "Oh, you know, you should do a cake." And I didn't want to make the cake. I'm thinking, I'm talking about a cake. He goes, "Oh, I'm sure you'll be fine." And then you said to me, "Worst case scenario, if you mess it up, it's me." I always remember you said that. And Clint is like, you know what? She has a point because she's like your friend. Worst case scenario, you mess it up. What can happen? Mildred did not have a cake. It's not. You're not going to die over it. And in a cut to your long story short, that's how my business started. We took your cake to a restaurant in Stratford. I always remember that. And the man was like, I love this cake. Do you have a business card? So I took his number and I called him. And I think we got about 2 orders from that one guy, the gentleman who was at the desk for your birthday. And that was the beginning of my business. So I had clients before I even had a business card. I've had to play catch up with the business.
Wow. And that cake was amazing. It was amazing. Yes, it looked great, but it also tasted great. And it's one of them, I didn't want to cut it. I did not want to cut it. I just wanted to look at it, you know, and keep it displayed. So, wow, I didn't know. I honestly didn't know that that's how the business kickstarted.
That's how it started.
Wow, so you're there and you get these. And by the way, were you baking like casually at home for Clinton at home prior to that cupcake thing at church?
I think I made him a cake either once or twice when we were dating. Funny enough, the baking side I had confidence in because my mom, she was strict. By age, I've told people this, by age 5, I was peeling onions. By age 12 to 13, I could cook a cake or smell. My mom, she's that typical old school African. If I'm in the kitchen, you don't need to be anywhere else. So the baking part, funny enough, is the bit that came easy to me. The decorating part, I think, was a gift. So in answer to your question, the odds I would have baked the odd cake here and there, but mainly for just myself or Clinton, just like small audience, not for like mass production.
Okay. So this happens and you're getting all this excitement around your cake. What was the transition? At what point did you realize that, oh my gosh, I have a business here?
Well, the interesting thing was this. After I did your cake, I think I had about 2 or 3 birthday cakes. And then this lady who was at one of the birthday cake events that I made, because now I've moved from you now, somebody that I know I'm familiar with, to making cakes for people I don't know. Yeah, so she got this lady, this wedding cake lady got her mom, and I think it was her auntie or so, to call me to talk me into making their wedding cake. Because what it is she tasted the cake. What was dry? I said, I've never made a wedding cake before. But she liked the taste. She wanted that taste at her wedding. So in the end, cut long story short, I made a nice 3-tier cake for her, which worked. But in answer to your question, I think making that wedding cake really then my view of the business, I started thinking, this could be a business. But this was my thinking. My thinking was, at that time where we were living, there were lots of kids. We had a lot of kids going around. I mean, I didn't know them a lot, but I know that it was a very child-friendly environment. Most of the parents had kids. So I thought, okay, I can open this small little business and it can just be for like this little square, like the area where we live. And then if any of the kids are having like a party or anything like that, I could make something small for them. And on the odd occasion, I have somebody like this lady wanting a wedding cake, then I can do that. So I thought to myself, this would be the perfect side hustle for me to just have this small thing, catering for a little square. And then if anything outside of that comes up, then I will do it. So I had that mindset, but then it was really weird. That was all happening when I was putting it on Facebook. And I started getting orders. But then something distinctive happened. I wasn't just getting orders. I think about order number 9, 10, I noticed a shift. The inquiries were not coming. I think this came there 2 or 3 cakes that I posted on Facebook. One was like something like a bedroom or something. I was looking at, because then Clinton was like, you need to have, like Excel where you're writing down your orders, just make notes. And I remember about order number 15, I started realizing that I was getting orders from people who the cakes were not for them. I was getting orders from like PAs or secretaries. And by the time I got to order number 20, it became very clear to me what was happening. I was attracting high-end clients. Because the cakes were so detailed, I've moved from like, of course, you're high-end as well. You are the very first high-end client.
Of course. Gosh, hello.
I think it was like Deutsche Bank. So something like that. Then I thought, no. Because about when I went after that gentleman in your restaurant for your birthday, Clinty said to me, just do like a cheap business card. Like there was a company called, I think it called something like Visa Print or Vista Print or some kind of cheap.
Yes. Everyone had a Vista Print card at some point.
Ask Clinton's like, look, you don't have time. Just find like the most cheap. You can decide what you're going to do later. I was like, all right. So then when I started realizing I think it was like Deutsche Bank that did it for me. I thought, okay, for starters, no more Vista Print or whatever, because I normally include my business card on the cake. And I called a company and I said I need a professional looking card because it looks like I'm attracting for professional people. But this was not, that's why I gave you the background about what my goal was, where I wanted to take this. But the plan was different. And I thought, okay, get something solid here, get something serious. Cut long story short, by order number 30, 40, it became crystal clear to me that my clients were not even locals. I was beginning to get clients from like Central London offices. Wow. So by then, my business, when I said, and then I'm thinking, okay, at that point, and I think you need to have a website. And my website, right from that point, I targeted that upper class audience, which meant I lost some of the locals because I thought your price need to match the audience you're attracting. And because nobody was contesting the prices, to me, these look like very expensive cakes. But when I told people what the costs were, people were not contesting it. Not only were they not contesting it, they were reordering. Because you had offices where maybe they were ordering the first cake for someone's birthday. And then I became the cake supplier whenever there was a party in that office. So that's how, but it was never my goal to go into the luxury sector. My business and my clients, because to me, I always feel like it's good to listen to clients. Every business decision I've made have come from my clients. My clients have escorted me into every area of my business. My clients more or less chose the name of the company because initially I wanted to do that classic thing, Elaine's Cakes. Surprise. And I thought, okay, start writing down what people are saying, because people will take the cake and they will say things. And I realized the most common word that people were using was, this is designer type of cakes. Ooh, this is designer style. So to an extent, my clients chose that word. And then I thought, okay, I didn't want to make an emotional decision. When I started making decisions, I realized that maybe I was better than business than I gave myself credit for. Because I think one of the things that mathematics taught me how to do was to bag emotions. I can bag my emotions very, very easily because mathematicians are very clinical. Like doctors, it's about the figures. We're not emotional typically. So I was able to bag those emotions and make strategic decisions. I.e., okay, what words can I pull together? Because I thought, okay, this business is clearly not going to be a friends and family business. Because my clientele they're telling me that. When I look at the list of clients, I don't know these people. This is not friends and family, which is what I thought my business would. These are not my neighbors. So I thought, okay, I need Google to know who I am. because by
Mhm.
that point I was, and my website guy. So when we finished the website, those days people took a long time to make websites. It's not like today. Talking what 10 years ago now. So he said
Mm.
to me, "We're gonna do a website which we will do SEO for you after, so people can see your Google." But by then, for some reason, people were seeing me. So I thought, okay,
Mm.
I also need a name that Google people looking for cakes in London will be able to find me. So I thought, okay, you're making cakes. So at that point, I was very local. So find a name that was going to incorporate cake designers, the fact
Mhm.
that your cake was designer style, and the odds are most of your clients are going to be coming from London. So that's how the word designer cakes of London came up. It was a very strategic move. And boy,
Mm.
I think that's the biggest asset of that of all the business decisions, the odds are that was the best decision. Because if you
Wow.
go online, you're looking for a cake designer in London, I come up.
Wow.
It's so easy for people to find me on Google. And that for me was the name of the company. And also the
Mhm.
name comes across, it makes the luxury element easy. I have clients who will
Mm.
say to me, like they receive the cake and they're upset. Oh, I thought you were going to put your branding on the cake. You know, my branding is on the packaging. It's
Mm.
not on the like the cake. Now I do. It's not on like the cake's board. So I realized
Mm.
I started having clients who they like the sound of the company name and they want
Mm.
that on their product. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's how we move. But it wasn't my plan to go into the luxury market. It was my clients who took me there.
Mhm.
And I think I was
I
really
love that.
blessed to make that switch quick, early enough from,
Mhm.
okay, you need to, put the emotions aside and make that business move. I think that was a blessing.
I love that. There's so many business lessons, and there's you've just set up like a million and one question and thoughts in my head. This conversation is likely going to go over an hour. So Joe's
That's fine.
loving it. Just as I'm loving this conversation, it's inspirational. It is for me too. I think there are some things that you said here. First of all, um, really word of mouth is
Yeah.
essentially what kind of got your business going. And in order for that to happen, you had to have a quality product in the first
Yeah.
place. Now,
Hmm.
there's so many, this is no disrespect to cake makers, but pretty much everyone is either a cake maker or knows a cake maker, right? So it's like it's quite a common side hustle that people do. I cannot bake to save my life, so I am not I am not one of them, you know. But it's like to make a name for yourself in a field that is so saturated is a massive achievement. And from what you're describing now, it's like, so there's some elements of it that were strategic, like you said, the name, but that came after cake number 30, 40. So my what I want to know is the thought process for you. So at the time when you're doing cake number 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 11, 12, etc., is that when you started seeing that actually this is going to be a business that's going to require me to quit my day job because I am now, by the way, did you start earning more from your cakes than you did in your day job before you made that jump and leave the day job to go full time into cakes? Or if you didn't, when did that happen?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Because once we made, I think the biggest jump was the cake that we did for Usain Bolt. Because the
Mhm.
cake that we did for Usain Bolt was almost like something that was happening, but that put a stamp on it.
Mhm.
That
Tell us
made
about that, by the way. Tell us,
yeah,
Usain Bolt's birthday cake, 30th
yeah,
birthday. Yeah,
yes,
how did
that
that
was quite
happen?
an achievement. Yeah, we thank God. Honestly, I'm always thankful for this thing. But I think that puts a stamp. It's really that made Google think, okay, who are these people? So that
Mhm.
really did escalate me. But in terms of that move, Mildred, I'll be honest with you, that stigma of that business people are hustlers, they're never going to be as successful as that carried me. It was that stayed with me much longer than it should have. I was in a position to leave my business a long time before I did. I had, because I came from that mentality of regular income, stable job. When I look at my parents, when I look at all the successful people around me, they all had that stable job. I wasn't even thinking of doing my business full time. Believe me, I wasn't. God literally had to push me out of my job. I I remember I used to do the entrepreneur club, and people would say to me, "Why are you still working?" Can I just say, my job? You got to believe me when I tell you this. I would, if they were saying they give in some kind of prize or some kind of award for the best job, I will write an essay on my job. I
Mm.
absolutely love my job. By that point, I've done all the hard work. So I was in a very senior role, which meant this. I had a number of people under me who I had become the person that they want to impress. Rather than me going to work and working hard and looking for that pay rise and looking for that good appraisal, I became that person. So I log
Mm.
on in the morning and people are like, oh, do you need any help today? Can I help you with this? Can you check? I literally did less work the more
Mm.
senior you get, which is so true. So
Mm.
I love my job. I was earning well. I got to do the things I wanted to do. My team was amazing. We were doing well as a team. We were one of the biggest earners within our division. So my job was so amazing that I stayed. I couldn't see the benefit of that change will bring more value to my business. I couldn't see it because I was so comfortable in my job. It's like people don't resign from a job like that.
Mm.
So I was I got to a point when I literally thought, this is it. You know what I mean? You have to leave. So from an income perspective, before I made that change, the first thing I did is, it's so easy to think of the plus, i.e., I need to make sure I'm making enough money, at least my income. I don't know if my income was a goal so much because I had a lot of disposable income in my income. So
Mm-hmm.
my original goal was, listen, doesn't matter how much money you're going to make with your business, doesn't matter what, bring your expenses down. That was something my mom taught me. My mom said it's so quick for people to look for more money. They don't evaluate their current spend. So before I left, I made that change. Anything that I didn't need, I removed from my expenses. I bought my monthly expenses I had no debts or nothing like that. My monthly
Mm.
expenses were so low that even if the business came to a standstill, it would take a long time for me to get to a point of suffering. So I prepared myself financially for that. I had funds saved because I thought, worst case scenario, you make that change, nothing coming for months and months. How will you cope? So that bringing my expenses down was a massive part for me. All luxurious thing, anything I did that, that clean slate. Then I thought,
Mm-hmm.
okay, if you feel like you didn't bring that, you can then start to add on. But for now, just clean things, make sure you're not going into debt or nothing like that. And then, so that's in a state question before I left. But I could have stayed 2-3 years longer
Mm-hmm.
than I needed to because I was so
Mm-hmm.
happy with my job.
Wow, that's so good because a lot of people go into self-employment because they're unhappy with work
Yeah.
or they want to express themselves more. It's like you had the best of both worlds, you know,
Mm.
and it sounds and you've mentioned God a few times. I think you've mentioned this is kind of like feels like a bit of a calling for you in terms of the cake making side. Would that be accurate to say that
Yeah.
that's what it was? And if so,
Yeah.
how did you recognize it to be that?
Oh, I tell you, it was very simple. Somebody showed up one day and wanted me to teach them what I do.
Mm-hmm.
It became within minutes, it became very clear to me that it was a gift. Because
Mm-hmm.
what will happen is I'll create this cake and people will say, how did you do it? Because I remember I was self-taught. I know for sure that it was a gift because people will even ask me how I did it and I would struggle to articulate myself. But you just put a
Mm-hmm.
cake in front of me and I can replicate it. Or you put something in front of me and I can replicate it so easily as a cake. And when I
Mm-hmm.
attempted to teach somebody else how to do it, it became crystal clear to me that it was a gift. Because the way how I would just get something, I realize others. I always feel like I've got the gift of presentation overall. But in terms of the cake designing, I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, feel like it's a gift.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you know, I'm not actually surprised that you attracted luxury clients in your cake making. Honestly, because that's you. That's always been your brand. You know, whether intentional or not, but for as long as I've known you, that's always been what I associated with you. High end luxury, that kind of stuff. So, and I think sometimes there's an incongruency with business people where, for example, they want high end clients, but they haven't made high end investments in themselves. This is the most practical way I can put this. So I can say something like, so they don't want to pay £100, for example, on a program, but they want someone to pay them 10K for one of their coaching program. It's like it doesn't match. It's like you can't have what you're not, in a sense.
Yeah.
Would you say that that's like a reflection of some kind of truth?
Mildred, I cannot agree with you more. Because one thing, you are so on point, and I actually should have mentioned this. Especially as Christians, sometimes we want to go into something that we criticize in. You'll have people who will stand in front of me and tell me they want to enter the luxury market. It's the most popular question I get in my business. Can you teach me how to enter the luxury market? But at the same time, somebody walks in with a designer brand and they have all these negative things to say, or they have all these negative things to say about people who like anything designer. You see, God is not going to put you in a position that you hate, because like my clients, they walk in draped in Chanel, and I look at them, and I have a client who have Louis Vuitton plates. I didn't even know Louis Vuitton does plates. Who goes and buy Louis Vuitton plates? But the reality is, I feel like I am comfortable in that environment, because sometimes we want to go into something, but are you prepared to deal with those clients that are as such? Because the luxury market, you deal with a certain type of clientele. And I'm very familiar with those modes. I'm forgetting, once I was doing like a, what do they call these things I used to do at the beginning of my business? Wedding fair. Wedding fair, you go, you set up your cakes.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was preparing, and Clinton said to me, how many cakes are you going to put out? And he said, oh, I think you should put a lot of cakes. I remember looking at him and I said, I'm going to put 3 cakes. He was shocked, because most suppliers who are doing like weddings will have like 10 of their cakes out. I don't know if you ever noticed when you go to high end, because when you go to high end places in a shop, when you go on sale in a cheaper shop, they put everything they have out and these labels on it. When you go to very high end brands, they don't put a lot of things out. They only put the minimal of what you need, because they want you to appreciate each piece. And it's the same way when we were out, and I can see Clinton, my husband's like a hustler, and he's going out, he's enjoying it, like a salesperson, chasing people, giving them cards and doing this and doing that. And I said to Clinton, don't give anybody a card, because I know how this is. I'm familiar with them. So I had the card down, and if you want it, you come and get it. Because a high-end designer is not chasing you with their product. Because I'm so familiar with designers, it's so easy for me to adapt that in my business. People think I'm joking when I say to people, if you make an inquiry to Designer Cakes of London, I will give you the answer. If you expect me to chase you, I'm not going to do that, because luxury people, they don't. If you call Gucci wanting shoes, Gucci will tell you the price. Gucci's not going to call you the next day. So, oh, by the way, that shoes you call it. Do you want it? No. If you're going to go into luxury market, you have to be ridiculously confident, because that's one of the most distinctive quality of high end. It's rare. It's the same way which, if I make a cake for a client, I'm not making that same cake for 4, 5, 6 clients. Once I've made it for 2, 3 clients, I don't care what I'm paid. That's the end of it. Because the whole point of luxury is you have to be exclusive and distinctive. If you come on, you will lose that in your branding. So you're right, they go hand in hand. If you can't fit in that environment, or I don't mean to be this, people say, I want to go to a luxury market. These people, you walk in, this client, they're looking at you from your head to toe. They're looking at how you present yourself to see if they can leave you with their high-end cake. You know what I mean? So it does go hand in hand. And you have to spend high-end. Everything I do, I mean, people think I'm joking when I say I order my icing in from Switzerland. High-end people know high-end. You can't fool them. You can't just do cheap. And then when you get to the end, you want an inflated price and say you're luxury. They will see right through you. You can't do that. So yes, I agree with you completely.
Wow. I love that you said you have to have this confidence, and it has to be radiate from the inside. You can't fake it. You either have it or you don't, So I do want to talk about, and we are gonna overrun, but all the technical cuts means we
have done an hour.
Right? So but
Yes.
but I do want to know a little bit about your strategy then. So you mentioned that the Usain Bolt birthday cake. So how did that come about? And then also, how did you go from there to having all these other celebrity clients, and now you also supply to like these high-end hotels as well? What was the transition in that process? How did you manage those deals?
I think once it registered that my business was not going to be my local school kids, Once
Mhm.
once that registered, then I think I then had to do. Then you start to think differently, don't you? I start to approach everything differently. And the bold cake, I think within a period of a month after making Usain Bolt cake, we did one for two other Olympic champions. Because the funny thing with these things is all you need is the first one. And also, we
Mm.
didn't just do a cake for Usain Bolt. I did a live interview with ITV News.
Yes. I
So
saw that on
yes,
YouTube.
that gave me so much exposure because it was live 6 o'clock news. And I
Mhm.
literally had people calling me to say, well, my son won a gold medal. If you did one for Usain Bolt, you have to do one for my son as well. Cool. So from then, it's funny. It kind of like it just snowballs from there. And then
Mm.
as you probably know, I was not an Instagram or Facebook person. I should tell my story about Instagram and Facebook. When I started Instagram, I said, you've been so impactful in my business. I said to you, I don't know if you remember this. I said, sometimes when I put the cakes, nobody even liked the cakes. And when I showed you the cakes, she goes, Elaine, nobody's going to like these cakes. I'm thinking, why? She said, because if I'm scrolling and I see this, I'm not even going to know it's a cake. And you guys, you said to me, when you post in your personal page, put something that says it's a cake, put like a text or something above the image, and then put
Mhm.
an image of yourself, because as you know, I prefer to stay behind the scene. And that
Mhm.
made a marked difference from my personal Facebook page. Now, because
Mhm.
now have that knowledge, when I move over to Instagram, I do the same thing. So in answer to
Mhm.
your question, a lot of my celebrity clients, they come from social media, Instagram or Facebook, but mainly Instagram. And
Mm.
also when I post as a business strategy, if you look at, for example, my Instagram, I tend to get like a lot. I did this started about maybe a year ago now. I post internationally. So
Mhm.
when you post on Instagram, typically it will just show your local UK audiences. I promote internationally. I would
Mhm.
say now about 30 to 40% of my clients are international.
Wow.
Because what happens is this: you're in central London, which means this. And then this is the other thing I should say as well, which is a really good strategy. I'm positioned in central London, even though I don't live in central London.
Mhm.
So I never forget when the Kardashian one, when they call, I love them because the celebrities, of course, they can do what they want. So they call in ridiculous hours. I didn't even know why I picked up the phone. And she called, she said, oh, it's for her son. And they're gonna be, it's just before Christmas. They're gonna, not this Christmas, the one before. They're gonna be in London for the Christmas season, and they just want to do a cake for the son. And I said yes. I said, oh, I was, she was scared up because a lot of celebrities, they don't tell you
Mhm.
it's a celebrity until the one was paid. And they're like, oh, can
Mm.
you say happy birthday? This person. I'm thinking, what? But for the Kardashians, she told me straight up. And then I
Mhm.
said to her, oh, that's amazing. I said, what you do is just so you're familiar with her work, I'm going to send you her Instagram or Facebook. She goes, no, 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 no. We follow you on Instagram. And I listed that to me. I almost fell off my chair when she
Mm.
said it. So in answer to your question, the strategy is my target is international. I don't just target local because it will shock you how many
Mhm.
people gift cakes. I'd say about maybe 40% of my business are not individuals ordering cakes for themselves. It's a cake
Mhm.
gift. So somebody
Wow.
might be in Canada. For some reason, I don't know what it is with Canadians. Canadians love to give cake gifts. So they'll call and say, hi, I'm from Canada with their accent. And we want you to give that person a cake for their birthday. Can you please remove your branding? We know what we're doing now. And
Mhm.
we have gift cakes. So I target an international audience, even though I'm London based.
Mhm. Wow, fantastic. And do you have a team or is it just you still?
It's fun. No, it's funny. I have a team, but this is the thing. The math side, the figure side, just come in hand with my business. Because you occurred
Mhm.
to me when you get to that point where you think, I can have a shop, I can have a bakery, I can have that many people working for me. And I thought, don't want to have a shop, don't want to have a bakery, don't want to have because your expenses, to me, I need my profit margins to look, I need my business to look healthy. And it
Mm.
occurred to me that, hold on, you can outsource. So recently I started baking more again, but for years I didn't even bake. You go to
Mm.
a company, you teach them how to make your cakes, you get them
Mhm.
to sign very solid confidentiality agreements, and they bake for you. So rather than me employing somebody and having a bakery, which will really eat into my profit, I
Mhm.
outsource that job. So that means what? If during COVID, I don't need as much, I don't need to worry about making people redundant. I don't
Mm,
need to worry about any of that kind of commitment. I will just order less. You see, we were very busy during COVID because we had a lot of people just wanting cakes to take that picture to post on Instagram. But
mm,
I outsource rather than that. I get administrative help. So my team, in answer to your question, I have one solid person who helps with like administration and all that. But I outsource a lot because it's so much more cost effective. It's less paperwork because once you employ a lot of people, you then go into that thing. But the
mm,
downside with with my type of business is this. In as much as I love my business and all that, one of the downside is it's a creative business, which means this. People say, why don't you have 50 different branches? Do I know 50 people who make they have the kind of gift that I have to make those type of cakes? No, I
mm,
don't. And the people who do, they want their own business. They're not
mm,
coming to work for you. So that's the downside of the nature of this business. The thing with creative people is there's only one of you in terms of
mm,
that degree of creativity. For me to expand my business, I will need to change the business model completely. So for me to
mhm,
expand my business, I will, for example, need to have 10 or 20 cakes that I make. And those cakes will need to be standard, not necessarily creative. It has to be done in a way that with a template which anybody will be able to walk in. You spend half an hour with them and they can repeat those cakes. So the creative element will go. It will be just a certain amount of cakes, just repeated all the time, maybe change the name and that type of thing. Because I don't have, there's only one of me. And
mm.
the thing with that second business that I mentioned, it doesn't appeal to me at
Yes.
all. It's not who I am. I am more bespoke, more designer style. So the business, will it grow horizontally? I'm not sure. I will need to change the business model completely. And do I want that? No. So the odds are
Mm,
it will go vertically. I would stay as I am, but just go up with it. But
mhm,
as in answer to the reason, I am a hobbyist. I'm somebody who, in as much as I did maths for so long and I enjoy doing maths and I can put those emotions in check, I've been spoiled. Now I do something that I love doing. Will I ever be able to do something again just so I get paid? I don't know. I don't think so. I think
mm,
once you've done something where you earn in money, I bet it's the same for you. You earn in money for something that you so enjoy doing. It's
mm,
really difficult to step outside of that arena. So I can
mm,
imagine down the line maybe making more like celebrity cakes, but the business model of the unique, the bespoke, the boutique style business I love, and that has been my success. It has worked. It has
mm,
worked in an environment where a lot of people have failed. You know, statistics
mm.
shows that I think 90% of businesses in United Kingdom fail in the first, what is it, year or so.
Yeah, the
So
first 3 years. Yeah.
the first 3 years. So
Mhm,
I've built something that works, and I like it. So my goal is to keep it as it is and just grow horizontally.
mhm.
So I go
I
vertically.
love I love the clarity that you have about the type of business that you want to build because that's really important. It's like some people end up building businesses where they are just slaves to the business or they're just full-time employees of their own company and they don't love it and they can't get out of it. And then there's on the other side, there's also like sometimes when you have a business, there's always this pressure to scale, grow, 10x, all this kind of thing. And you can end up building a business that doesn't give you that satisfaction and that love that you spoke about. So I think that's really, really, really inspirational how you've been very kind of sticking to what you love and what works and then just doing more of the same, so that's really good. We are going to round up real soon, but I just want to shift real quickly to visibility because one of the things that I put in the show notes for this is like you're one of the most visible women that I know, in that you've explained how you've used it, Facebook and Instagram. By the way, you didn't mention LinkedIn, my favorite platform, but it's okay. you know. But so
I
it's
send
but
reminders, I will.
yeah, but essentially it's more kind of, so you're at a place where it's like basically your cake and your work speaks for you. So you don't necessarily have to get in front of the camera and do all of that appearances because your work basically speaks for you. Is that where you would describe yourself as being?
Yes, that is exactly how I describe myself as being, and I've got away with it for so long. But I've got to be honest with you. My social media team, again, like I said to you, I outsource. So those things, I don't need to have a full-time employee to do it. My social media team have told me repetitively, I need to be TikTok and all that. I need to be more visible. As you go, if you go on my Instagram page or you go on my business Facebook page, you don't see me at all. All you see are cakes after cakes after cakes after cakes. And they
I
have told me,
couldn't
I
see
know
you.
the main reason I'm here today. And they have told me repetitively, and I don't think I have much time. I don't. I think my period of enjoying that luxury is probably going to come to some. At least they said at least one every 10 cakes should have the person that it's so much more personal when
Mhm.
people know who you are. So my goal in the next 2 3 months is to at least have one, even if I'm just standing behind a wedding cake. They've told me, and just take a picture.
Mhm.
So people will. They're not realizing it. They're not asking for it, but the odds are unconsciously they're thinking, who are the people making all these cakes? So
Mhm.
I've got to work with it for years, Mildred, because that's exactly how I like it. But I don't know if that's coming to a natural end.
We need to talk about you being more visible, Elaine.
I don't, it's just not my thing, honestly.
No, I love it. And I think it will add that extra bit, especially as you have such an amazing story in terms of your career journey and the love and the passion that you have for the work that you do. I think that needs to be heard,
Yeah,
because looking at your Instagram and your Facebook, it's like, wow. And by the way, we'll share the links in the show notes. Go and check out Elaine's website, Instagram, everything. Her cakes are amazing to look at. But you can be mistaken of thinking it's just a company, a faceless company who is
yeah,
doing all this amazing stuff rather than this one individual amazing woman who puts her love and her passion and her creativity into the cakes and the design. So I think your story can sell even more cakes and expose you
that's
to
what I've been
even
told.
newer audiences. So I'm glad we're doing this podcast because I'm going to promote this podcast to tell your story. you know so I love it. Elaine, we're gonna round up. We're just gonna round up to this, but I feel like there's so much more that we can talk about in this conversation. But I love how you've shared with us your journey, your transition from career to business, and like the insights into how you built that successful business. So what would be your top advice to somebody listening right now who's been inspired by this conversation? Maybe they've been feeling kind of a tug, to do more with their side hustle, maybe, or to grow their business in a different way. What's your biggest advice to somebody right now who's in that position of, I wanna experience more success with my business, but I also wanna love what I'm doing in my business. How can I make them both happen at the same time?
Yeah. You see, I think your business is going to work better if it's an extension of who you are. Unless you're doing a partnership, in which case the personality is diluted. But if you're doing a sole business like we are doing, it's literally an extension of who you are. So find something that's you. Find something, even if you're doing something which is, say, for example, you buying drinks and you're just selling it on. You're doing something like that, which is not really creative, it's not really personal. I promise you, who you are will come across in that business, and you have to be true to who you are. If you're somebody, say, for example, my younger brother, he's the exact opposite of me. He's not very detailed, he's not very luxury, he's cheap and cheerful, and he will tell you that straight up. And he said he has a business entirely which is working so well because I call it's the cheap and cheerful business. He's found something that works with who he is. And it's so easy for him to do it because it's not going contradictory to his who he is. And then my second point is this: you have to listen to your clients. The easiest way to grow a successful business is for your clients to hold your hands and tell you where they want to go. Because you can set up a business in your head, which is so amazing and it grows and this is definitely going to work and this and that. Unless your clients agree with you, even if you have 3 clients, they are your clients. What do they want? What do they seem to be leaning towards? What do they like about your business? A lot of times, what your clients are going to like about your business, probably not even what you like. But if you let your clients escort you into your next moves, it's almost impossible to fail because you're listening to what people want rather than designing what you think will work. And you can get it really wrong. How wrong did I get it? My plan was my little square with those kids running around. But my business clients took my hands and escorted me into an area that I never saw coming. But you have to
Mhm.
respond to your clients.
Wow, that's amazing. That is fantastic. Well, we're all ready to attend your business workshop seminar when you host it.
I
We're ready.
I am definitely, you know what, Millie, the answer to your question probably for the year end, and it's definitely, I'm going to, again, responding to my clients, I'm going to tell what people ask me the most. How do you go? What are the secrets of getting into that luxury market? That would be the
Mhm.
ideal thing for me to do it on.
Okay, okay, fantastic. Now, I definitely believe that there will be lots of demand for that kind of training. So that is amazing. Elaine, it has been so good having this conversation with you. You know, we're definitely going to continue offline, but it's been so good
Definitely.
speaking with you. You know, and before I let you go, can you tell us how we can find you? What's the best place to reach you, connect with you, and the work that you're doing?
Of course. So we Designer Cakes of London. If you missed that, we're on Instagram, as the name implies. After every word, there's a dot. So it's designer.cake.london.co.uk. And we're also on Facebook. You can just do a search and we'll come up. We are our email, it's sales@designercakesoflondon.co.uk. And if you go there, you can get to see the brand. And of course, if you need a cake, it would be an honor to make a cake for one of millions listeners.
Wonderful, wonderful. I love it. Elaine, thank you so much for your time today. It has been an incredible pleasure having this conversation. So we're gonna definitely follow your progress, and as soon as you have that workshop ready, I will let everybody know because we want to be there representing and learning from you some more. So thank you
Anyway.
for your time this evening.